Thought Reflection 0612-26, Telepathy and the End of Separation. Humanity currently exists within a world of separation. Each individual experiences life through a private stream of thoughts, emotions, perceptions, memories, and beliefs. Communication allows portions of those experiences to be shared, yet communication itself remains imperfect. Every thought must be translated into language. Every feeling must be compressed into symbols. Every experience must be reduced into words before it can be transmitted to another person. The result is distortion. A person may know exactly what they mean, yet struggle to express it. Another person may hear the words clearly and still misunderstand the intention behind them. Entire relationships, communities, religions, governments, and civilizations have been shaped by the limitations of communication. Much of human conflict arises not from malice, but from misunderstanding. Human beings often interact with descriptions of reality rather than reality itself. Language has served humanity well, but it is ultimately a translation system. It is a bridge between isolated minds. Every translation loses information. Every translation introduces distortion. Even the most eloquent language can never fully communicate the complete depth of an experience. This raises an intriguing possibility. What if humanity were capable of communicating more directly? What if thoughts, emotions, intentions, meaning, and understanding could be shared with far less distortion? What if communication evolved beyond the limitations of language itself? Such a possibility has often been described as telepathy. Most discussions of telepathy focus on the ability to read thoughts, but this may be too narrow a perspective. Telepathy may not simply represent a new human ability. It may represent a fundamentally different way of organizing civilization. The true significance of telepathy lies not in what it allows individuals to do, but in what it would allow humanity to become. Communication shapes civilization. Oral traditions created one kind of world. Writing created another. The printing press transformed society again. The internet connected billions of people through a global network of information. Each advancement changed humanity because each advancement altered the way information moved between individuals. Telepathy would represent a transformation far greater than any of these. The internet connects computers. Telepathy could connect consciousness. The internet allows information to flow across a network. Telepathy could allow understanding itself to flow across a network. The internet created a global web of information. Telepathy could create a global web of awareness. In this sense, telepathy becomes far more than communication. It becomes the foundation of what might be called unity consciousness. Unity consciousness does not imply the loss of individuality. It is not a hive mind. It does not require people to think the same thoughts, hold the same beliefs, or abandon their unique identities. Individuality remains intact. What changes is the experience of separation. Human beings continue to exist as individuals, yet they begin to experience themselves as participants within a larger living system. The individual remains. The connection becomes visible. This shift alone would have profound consequences. Much of human behavior emerges from the perception of separation. Competition, distrust, deception, manipulation, tribalism, and many forms of conflict are natural outcomes of a civilization in which individuals experience themselves as fundamentally isolated from one another. Such behaviors are understandable within a survival-based model of existence. If understanding becomes easier and distortion becomes more difficult, many of these behaviors begin to lose their foundation. Emotion plays a critical role in this possibility. Emotion may be one of humanity's most universal languages. Every culture possesses different words, customs, and beliefs, yet joy, grief, gratitude, fear, awe, compassion, and love remain recognizable across all human societies. Words communicate information. Emotion communicates significance. Words describe what happened. Emotion reveals why it matters. A telepathic form of communication would likely transmit far more than thoughts alone. It would transmit context, intention, meaning, and emotional reality simultaneously. People would not merely hear what was being said. They would understand the experience from which it emerged. This would dramatically reduce distortion. A statement such as, "I love the ocean," contains only a few words, yet the actual experience behind those words may include decades of memories, sensory impressions, emotional associations, and personal meaning. Language compresses that entire experience into a simple sentence. Direct communication could potentially transmit far more of the original experience. The implications extend beyond understanding. They extend into authenticity. Human deception depends largely upon the ability to separate inner reality from outer expression. A person can think one thing while saying another. A person can feel one thing while presenting another. A society built upon direct communication would not necessarily eliminate deception, but it would make deception increasingly difficult to maintain. Transparency would become more natural. Authenticity would become more valuable. Trust could increase because intentions would be easier to recognize. Many people would view such a possibility with discomfort. This reaction is understandable. Modern humanity has been shaped by privacy, separation, and the ability to conceal portions of itself from others. A sudden emergence of telepathy within the modern world would likely be disruptive. Many people would resist it. Many would fear it. Many would view it as a violation of personal freedom. Yet this resistance may reveal more about the current human condition than about telepathy itself. Human beings rarely resist change because they have carefully concluded that it is harmful. More often, they resist change because it is unfamiliar. Change challenges identity. It disrupts assumptions. It forces adaptation. The greater the transformation, the greater the resistance. A civilization born into unity consciousness would experience reality differently. Children raised within such a system would not view telepathy as unusual. They would simply view it as normal. They would never know a world in which understanding depended entirely upon symbolic language. The fears and assumptions of a civilization built upon separation would not necessarily develop in the same way. Such a transition would likely require generations. It would not happen overnight. It would involve resistance, confusion, and adaptation. Yet every major transformation in human history has followed a similar pattern. The deeper question is whether humanity can continue operating under its current model indefinitely. Modern civilization possesses extraordinary technological power, yet many of the same patterns continue to repeat throughout history. Fear, division, competition, conflict, deception, and survival remain dominant themes despite advances in science, technology, and communication. New tools have emerged, yet many old patterns remain. Perhaps the limitation is not technological. Perhaps it is experiential. Perhaps humanity has reached the limits of what can be achieved while operating from a model of profound separation. If that is true, then unity consciousness represents more than an interesting possibility. It represents a new stage in the human experience itself, a shift from survival to relationship, a shift from distortion to understanding, a shift from isolation to connection, a shift from information to wisdom. Telepathy may be one expression of that transition. It may be the mechanism through which humanity begins to function less like a collection of isolated individuals and more like a living, interconnected system. The result would not merely be a better society, it would be a different civilization operating according to different principles. Perhaps this is why the idea feels so profound. It is not simply another advancement. It is not merely another technology. It is not even another human ability. It is a different way of being human. Whether telepathy emerges gradually, appears unexpectedly, or develops over many generations remains unknown. What matters is the possibility it represents. If unity consciousness becomes a reality, humanity may discover that many of the problems it struggled to solve through force, competition, control, and separation begin to dissolve under entirely different conditions. The question is not whether telepathy is possible. The question is whether unity consciousness carries humanity into the next stage of evolution. Haggis, My Esoteric Journey,